Today is March 21st, 2024. My name is Melissa Ackerman, and I will be interviewing Janine Reutter as part of the Dallas Jewish Community Israel post-October 7th visits. How are you today, Janine?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Can you tell me about the agency you work for and what your position is?
Sure. So I'm the director of Friends of the Israel Defense Forces for North Texas.
And what do you do?
So Friends of the IDF is the partner of the Israel Defense Forces in terms of their humanitarian arm. We provide support for soldiers, veterans, and their families from education opportunities, welfare, and well-being.
What kinds of things have you been doing specifically since October 7th?
So we are in constant contact with the IDF multiple times a day, assessing what the needs of the soldiers are and their families, and fundraising to help meet those needs. So that's been every day since October 7th.
Absolutely. So when were you last in Israel?
I was in Israel in early February.
Okay. Were you with a group? Did you take a group?
Yes, we took a group of Texans, people from Illinois and Michigan, to Israel to both meet with the IDF and see firsthand the impact of the massacre.
Mm-hmm. And how many people were roughly on that trip?
There was 15 of us.
Okay. And they were from all over the United States?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the last time before that trip that you had been in Israel?
The last time I had been in Israel was 2017.
Okay.
It was on a Federation mission for the Jewish Federations of North America.
Mm-hmm.
We had actually started in France. We met with a number of the Jewish community members there that were making Aliyah because of rising anti-Semitism that they were experiencing. And then we went with them to Israel on their flight as they were making Aliyah, and traveled around and got to experience firsthand the importance of the state of Israel.
So when you went in February with your group, what are the things that you did while you were there?
So we mostly met with soldiers and their families, from bereaved families who lost loved ones and supporting them, wounded soldiers in the hospitals, to meeting with higher level generals and politicians as it pertains to the war effort. We also visited Kibbutz Be'eri. We met with some of the survivors there. We visited the Nova site. And, we were there to really get an understanding of the impact of October 7th, how Israelis are coping, and what the feeling is among the soldiers and their families at this time.
What is the feeling among
It
the soldiers
is-
at this time?
I've never met a more resilient group. The number of stories I've heard from young men and women that they feel this calling and necessity to be with their squad, battalion, brigade, you have it, that relationship with their team means more to them right now than being home with their families. This sense of having each other's backs, this sense of we're doing it for our country to protect our families. Usually from a military perspective, when you're in a war, you're not focused on protecting your family. If you take Afghanistan, Iraq, it's soldiers going somewhere else. Mm-hmm. In this case, the war having started on October 7th, where numerous kibbutzim and communities were overtaken by terrorists, it became a lot more personal. And so the sense from the soldiers is this personal, feeling like they were personally attacked, in many cases they were, and this personal responsibility to protect the state of Israel going forward. And so just, I can't even tell you, we probably met with 40 wounded soldiers, and all of them that were, awake and on the mend were saying how they cannot wait to get back to the army and their unit. So.
What were some of the most meaningful things you experienced?
I would have to say we met with a released hostage, Moran Stelly and I. Hearing her strength and her story is something I will never forget. Hearing what it was like for her for those 56 days, I believe, that she was a hostage, what she experienced, and the strength she had to share her story. And, it's hard not to think of yourself in that position, or, put a family member, or think about what you would do. And I feel like I would just close in on myself. I can't imagine. And she has done the opposite. She feels so strongly that it is now her life's mission to share her story.
The brutality.
What she experienced, so that for the other hostages, including some of her friends who were ultimately ended up being killed while in Gaza, that she needs to make sure the world knows what happened to her and what she and others experienced, and she's never going to stop. And that was beyond. Do
the freed hostages feel like they have support of the Americans behind them, or in the Israeli government? Do they feel like they're
right?
being
So
looked after and trying to get?
I can only speak for those that I met with. But yes, I think the support they're feeling is tremendous. They do feel very strongly that, everyone in Israel has their back. They're not experiencing the same thing, like anti-Semitism, that we are here. They're hearing about it, of course, for those that are, trying to stay or can emotionally and mentally handle keeping up with the news. But yes, from those I met with, they're feeling the support.
Were you welcomed when you were there? Were they pleased to have you?
Oh my goodness, the business owners, just random people on the street were just so thankful that people are coming, people are supporting, bearing witness, injecting money into the economy.
Would you recommend that people go now and be part of it?
I feel like people have to go now. I know a lot of people are scared, not for their safety, but from the emotional aspect. Can they handle such a thing? And what I have to say is I left just feeling like the Israeli people are so strong and so resilient, and they're rebuilding. They're never going to forget, of course. But you're on the kibbutzim and you see construction taking place. You see the survivors want to get back to their homes and their livelihood, and they don't want to be in hotels anymore. They want to get back to that kibbutzim lifestyle. So.
Were you in fear at all when you were there? Did you feel safe?
I felt very safe. I'd say probably like that first day when I was alone walking the streets of Tel Aviv, I was like, what's going to happen? But I never once felt unsafe at all.
What would you want people to know about what you experienced?
I think I've said this a lot, but resilience. Just you know, the saying, Am Israel Chai, the people of Israel will live forever. It's just such like, everything about Israel right now embodies that, you know, and when you're on the ground, you're witnessing it. Even those that have faced the most brutal of hardship and lost loved ones, they're screaming from the rooftops, Am Israel Chai. And to be a part of that is super important right now.
What would you like to see happen based on your experiences?
This is one area that I'm not going to be the most optimistic. I don't foresee any sense of long-term peace, unfortunately, or anything like that, so not sure.
Mm-hmm. How many times have you been to Israel?
In my life,
in
5.
your life? 5.
Yes.
Okay.
2 more trips planned this year, most likely.
When are you going to go?
September, definitely, and most likely June.
Okay. And taking groups with you?
Yes.
That's great. Is there anything else you'd like to say on here before we finish?
I'd just say Israel needs to exist, and we've seen now, you know, the further we get away from the Holocaust, maybe people have felt either disillusioned or maybe felt like they could be safe anywhere as Jews. And we're seeing with the rising anti-Semitism today that Israel needs to exist. It needs to be strong. We need a strong IDF to ensure a safe Israel and to ensure that we as Jewish people have a place to go if our homes become unsafe.
Thank you so much for sharing your afternoon with me. Really appreciate it. Thank you.